Good day, everyone. This is Polymules, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and on the tabletop. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Dracula.
Hey now, everybody. How's it going?
And also, please welcome our special guest for tonight, Patrick.
Hello.
Hello, Patrick. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah. It has.
Always good to have you on so you can share your insights with a lot of that coming up because we have a lot to talk about.
It's mostly me sharing other people's insights and just me kind of regurgitating a lot of it, but
yeah,
we'll do what we can.
You can take some credit because something is your fault, but we'll talk about that later too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Let's get on to the game news because it seems to have all come into one episode.
Yeah. Usually we have hardly any news.
Which is one, why I'm here, and two, just so you know, this show's going to be twice as long as normal.
Oh, of course it will. I already said before, this is going to be a long show. So buckle up, people. You're in for a bumpy ride.
For a bumpy ride. And we'll begin with a free questing coupon and a VIP update from Standing Stone Games. It looks like they're tweaking things up a little bit.
Just a little, yeah. They posted about this. They said, we have seen our communities come together in recent months as we unlocked quest, raid, and adventure area content to all players. And we are excited to make an announcement today that you'll want to read. We would like to thank you for supporting us. To start, players will continue to enjoy all of our quest, raids, and expansion content for free through August the 31st. We would also like to provide a way for you to move forward with your gaming when our event eventually will come to an end. So in the coming days, which they have already released the code, they are going to provide a coupon code that will let you acquire all currently available adventure packs permanently on your accounts. However, you're going to need to act quick. The coupon code is available to redeem only through August the 31st.
Oh, only 2 more months to go.
Well, hey, some people are procrastinators.
3?
Well, okay. Two and a half more. Yeah, more than 2.5 months, but yes.
As I said,
I have a question.
Yes.
What is this time period you call a month?
It's Pine Leaf time.
Full disclosure, my time metric right now is when raid night is.
Okay, it's 4 raid nights.
So next week?
I'm gonna say you are talking to Patrick here, so you might want to up that amount a little bit.
Sorry. I guess I was thinking about a normal person scale.
Right. But write this coupon code down. It is DDO Free Quest. You can use this one time per account, and it's available through August 31st, as we said. And this is going to unlock a lot of stuff for you.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm sure you'd really want to unlock it more than once on your account.
Right. That's why it can only be one win per account. But remember, like if you have a free-to-play account, maybe you created a free-to-play account or whatever, use the code on that account as well, because this is going to unlock, I'm not going to read all these off, we're just going to do it the easy way. It's going to unlock all of the quest packs that are available up to right now, if I understand it correctly.
It's all adventure packs that are through update 46, so it includes gatekeepers.
Okay.
The only thing it doesn't unlock is the 4 expansions, which would be Menace to the Underdark, Shadowfell Conspiracy, Ravenloft, and Charm.
Right. And speaking of those expansions, well, some of the expansions, Menace of the Underdark and Shadowspell Conspiracy, if you do not own those yet, you can get them in the DDO store for 99 DDO points, which is amazing as well. And I know I did see some people saying, hey, how's come the newer expansions are on sale? Well,
I wonder why.
They got to make some money, people. I mean, come on.
Yes, really.
I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, come on.
Oh, it's not as bad as the people says, oh, can we get a refund because I just bought these?
Right. Oh, I'm sure there's lots of those too. And then you did kind of say something about the VIP program. It's getting a little update as well. VIPs are going to be getting a permanent +1 XP boost for every member in the party other than themselves and hirelings. And that's going to be up to a maximum of 5%. And that boost is going to stack with other bonuses. And it works the same way as the long-running weekend buddy bonus that they do a lot. VIPs don't have to do anything at all to get this update. As soon as you log in, your VIP accounts are going to automatically receive the benefit starting in a game update in the near future. And then they round it out by saying, please continue to stay safe, and we're happy to have you here. Sincerely, the teams at Standing Stone Games. So that's pretty freaking sweet, actually. I mean, that's a lot of content that you're getting for freeze. And I know I was looking on the forums. There is some debate about this, but VIPs can use this code. And then if you, for some reason, would ever drop back down to premium, you would have all the stuff unlocked.
Yeah.
Everyone should use this code.
Yes, everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a free to play, a premium, or a VIP. Put this code in, unlock all the stuff on your account.
Yes, I did use this. I have already used this code. I have not used it in the other game because, well, lifetime accounts.
Well, yeah. DDO didn't have those, so yeah.
Yeah,
so
DDO
there you go.
doesn't have those.
So once
they
again,
actually do have lifetime accounts. There are a handful of lifetime VIP subscriptions out there.
Really? I did not know that,
Yes.
actually.
There was one the year that Crystal Cove came out. I think they did at PAX East. They had kind of an early preview Crystal Cove event, and I think the winners, one of whom I believe was Steiner Davian, got some, like maybe 5 people or a couple people got a lifetime account there.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize.
And then
they did that.
yeah, and then the year that I went to PAX and they had a party out here, they gave away, I think, a couple DDO free lifetime VIPs. If memory serves, I think Anne actually got one. And there was another person. There were like me, Sig, Anne, and then another guy whose name I don't remember. We're all kind of in a group, and the other guy in the group got one. So the person who put their tickets, the raffle coupons in before and after me won the lifetime.
Oh man! Wow, that's some sucky RNG right there.
There are a few. So.
Well, I did not know that. That is news to me.
I thought I heard rumor of there being such a thing for special things, but apparently now I have confirmation on that.
There you go. It's more than just a rumor, Piney.
Then let's head into other news. And we'll begin with Update 46, Patch 2. And what's in there?
A lot of stuff.
Class stuff, it looks like, and epic stuff, and item stuff. And
Where to begin? Yeah, classes got some stuff. Alchemist spellbooks are now retained on Lesser Reincarnation. That's just like the Wizard and Artificer counterparts. So if you reincarnate a lot, or lesser reincarnate, I should say, you can keep your spell book now. The insightful bonus to tactical DCs granted by Divine Might are now correctly typed as insightful. Warlock, which excites me, one of these more than others, we'll let you figure out which one, got 3 new Warlock packs. They are available. These are in addition to the existing packs that are there. The Carcery Storm. Your patron is a demonic entity from the realm of Carcery, otherwise known as the Tartarus. Not the blue box that flies around either. The bitter Doctor Who joke. The bitter cold and freezing winds will chill you to the bones. But if you can master the power granted to you, great things will surely come your way. Your pack dice element is going to be cold. Your pack save bonus is reflex, and there is no alignment restriction on this. You get Merfolk's Blessing at level 1, Gust of Wind at level 2, Creeping Cold at 3, Ice Storm at 4, Nyax Bidding Cold at 5th level, and Greater Creeping Cold at 6th level.
This is the pact of cold dots.
Lots of cold dots. Very, very cold. Yes, so if you like cold, this is your pact. And then you also get Frozen Footsteps, which gets a plus 10 cold absorption. That's at level 6 for the Warlock. Level 15 is Absolute Zero. You attempt to lock a single enemy in ice permanently. Enemies must succeed on a will save, throw versus DC, 15 plus Warlock level plus Charisma modifier, are forever be trapped in solid ice.
Yikes.
I'm
Enemies
calling it now. That's going to get changed.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
Down the line.
I'm sure
they actually, Flesh to Stone used to do that. Back in the day, Flesh to Stone didn't have a, like, if you failed to save, you were just Flesh to Stone forever. The problem is if you look at places that have respawning mobs, like a raid, for example, and then if you just flesh them to stone, they don't respawn ever. So that was kind of a problem. They had to fix that a couple different ways.
And then keep in mind, enemies made of fire will instead just be destroyed with no saving throw. And that does not affect bosses. So there you go. Our next new pact is the Csto Pack. Your patron is a divine Celestial, patron of those who wish to devote themselves to an unconventional method of worship.
Yeah, this does sound a little strange.
Weird for a Warlock, yes.
Yeah. Warlock, Celestial, it's certainly non-traditional for Warlock.
So, one, it's not that crazy because it does exist in pen and paper. Also,
it does?
Well,
it does.
Yeah, this is straight out of 5e. There is this pact in 5e.
Oh, okay.
And Warlocks, it's a patron. You get power from a patron, right? So there's, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing lore-wise that says that patron can't be benevolent.
No, also, it doesn't.
I really want to point out that I like Drax's version better because when he says it sounds like we're going to get Taco Tuesday every day. This Warlock.
Yeah. Okay, I do have to admit, though, that I am the person who tended to play a Phalok whenever I played a Warlock, so...
Oh, yeah, I figured you'd be all over this one.
Yeah, of course I'm going to... The next time I'm a Warlock, this is what I'm going to choose.
Of course you are, yeah. Once again, I said it's the patron who you devote themselves to an unconventional method of worship. You will learn to channel the light in the air around you into a righteous weapon. You utilize holy abilities to help your friends and pass judgment upon your enemies. Your element is electric. Your will is your pack save bonus. And you must be good to take this pact.
What a shock.
You get Bless, Soundburst, Magic Circle Against Evil, Prayer, Holy Aura, and Freedom of Movement. At level 6, you get a plus 5 physical resistance rating and plus 1 to all saving throws, which is nice. At 15, you attempt to obliterate. Thank you. That's a hard word for me to say for some reason. And undead are severely weaken any non-undead foe. Undead must succeed on a will saving throw versus DC. Once again, 15 plus Warlock level plus Charisma modifier. It is destroyed. Undead who fail this saving throw are enemies who are not undead, are instead terrorized and have their physical and magical resistance ratings reduced by 10 per 15 seconds. I figured when I read that, I was like, oh, it's the Pinely Pact.
Most of the feedback I've seen is like Celestial is the one that people are least interested in.
Well, yes, but I'm Pine Leaf. Yes. Now we're here Drax Pact, right?
Oh yeah, I'm like all over this. And when I read this, I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted from the beginning for the Warlock. It is the Abyss Pack. Your patron is of the Abyss, a pit of darkness beyond comprehension, a desire and a hunger beyond meaning itself. Tread carefully. Your dice element is going to be negative. Fortitude is your pack save. And you must not be good to take this pact, which, again, makes sense. At first level, you get mage armor. Yay, I guess. Second level, spawn screen, halt undead, death aura at level 4, symbol of pain at 5, and rend the soul at 6th level. The Warlock level 6, you get Unhallowed Flesh. It's a +5 physical resistance rating and a +5 magical resistance rating. And then at Warlock level 15, you can channel the Abyss. You shroud yourself in the Abyss, which will grant you an unholy power at a cost. You gain +2 charisma, +10 negative healing amp, and +10 negative spell power. You have a +100 critical hit resistance, and you are healed by negative energy, but you take 50% healing from positive energy, and you take double damage from light. You are considered undead rather than your original type for the purpose of most effects. So that is amazing. I'm excited about that. Do you want to say anything about these, Patrick, that you can add?
They're all kind of interesting additions. More choice is always fun. I don't think any of these are going to break the bank. I think the Celestial's the weakest of the 6 packs we have.
I would agree with that.
Their spell selection is pretty lousy. It has absolutely no offensive punch at all. So I think the Abyss Pact is kind of fun, but I don't know how well it's going to take off, just from the standpoint that its whole shtick is about being able to become undead, which, 1, you don't get till you're level 15, and 2, it lacks kind of the ability, the self-healing ability that like a Pale Master does, because the only spell that they have that can heal is Death Aura. They don't have any other negative energy spells that can heal you, so I don't think it's going to take off too much. I think it's fun it's in the game, and we'll probably see some esoteric tank builds using Abyss Pact, because the undead form kind of protects you from things like Horde Wilting and some other damage types that you run into occasionally. But I don't expect any of these 3 to really become mainstream.
No, I think they're more fluff, really, than anything. And like you said, it's always good to have choices. And these are straight out of pen and paper, so it's not like, these are something they just created or whatever. Like I said, I'm excited about the Abyss. I might create a new Warlock just for the Abyss, just to play with it, I think.
Yeah, we could call the series War and Peace.
There you go.
You take the Abyss, I take the Celestial.
There you go. I think I smell a new series. There you go. Right there. And then also,
one are going to be an ASMR and one's going to be a Tiefling at the same time?
Well, of course.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean,
if you really want to have a crazy one, have the Abyss Warlock be the ASMR and the Celestial one be the Tiefling.
That would be amazing, actually. And totally unexpected. Ooh.
Yeah, especially by us two.
Yeah. Ooh. We might have to talk about that finally, but I don't know if you would do a Tiefling, but we'll see. Stay tuned for that, folks. Also, Warlock, besides the new Pact, the Hurl Through Hell and the Create Thrall have had their base DC changed from 10 to 15.
This is a reversion change, because it was 15 and the tooltip said it was 10, so they made it 10 to match the tooltip, because that is typically, if there's a discrepancy there, the tooltip is the design intent.
Right.
So they put it on the design intent and then got a lot of feedback, and now they're going back to 15.
I'd say people lost their ever-loving minds. That's what it boiled down to, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some value or some validity to that, because it doesn't have a lot of ways to increase its DC, because it's just 15 Warlock level Charisma modifier. So the only way you can really improve this is to get more Charisma. It doesn't have a spell school that get bonuses to like a lot of other things. So the extra 5 does kind of make a difference.
It does. I noticed that when they changed that on my other Warlock. I was doing some lower level stuff because my Warlock's not real high level yet, and I noticed a big change with the 10 to the 15. So I, for one, am glad we're back to 15. And then there was a bunch of enhancement work. You can go over and read the patch notes. We're not going to go through all these unless there's anything you think, Patrick, that we should highlight.
I think we should highlight
enhancement section.
There's a lot of stuff going on around sorcerers right now.
Yeah, that's what's coming up.
Well, there's one buried in here. The level 6 and 12 core abilities from all 4 sorcerer elemental savant trees no longer grant +1 maximum caster level with the chosen element. So there's a little bit of a nerf there. I don't think that's usually going to result in like 1 die worth of damage. So it's not a huge number, but it is the most direct nerf towards sorcerers in the patch.
And I know that got a lot of mixed reactions on the forums. I was looking at the forums this weekend and I was like, oh.
Well, I think a lot of the sorcerer stuff is like this will help kind of tone them down a little bit, but we actually talked about this on DDO Cast this week. A lot of their damage kind of tends to revolve right now around critical and being able to push spell critical chance up to at, near, or above 100%, which kind of really amplifies that damage. So I'm not sure how much this is really going to impact that. We'll talk about critical chance more later.
And then Epic Destinies, the Divine.
Well, hang on. Before you go on enhancements, we got to talk about the other 2 things in here.
Okay.
Because the Pale Master Shard of the Zombie.
Is
being changed.
Was going to talk about that and completely skipped it. Yeah, Shroud of the Zombie has been changed to Shroud Toggle. You shroud yourself with the negative energy and assume many of the traits of a zombie. While in this form, you hunger for brains and you gain +4 Constitution, +10 melee power, and +3 physical and magical resistance rating. And you attack at 10% slower. You have 100% critical hit resistance, and you are healed by negative energy. You take 50% healing from positive energy and double damage from light. You are considered undead for this, which makes sense.
You have. I try to understand this thing about the craving for brain. I know, is it just the joke about zombies, or is there something
just
game
a
mechanic?
Okay, yeah, no, it's
it is
just
a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the zombie. You're a zombie, so you're like, oh, brains. Yeah.
Okay.
The takeaway from the Shard of Zombie and the Ascendant Shroud for Zombie is that the percent damage. So the Ascendant Shroud has a 10%. There's going to a 10% profane bonus. Sorry, 10% more damage. It was 20, and it loses, I think, some range power. The big idea here is that they're taking out some of the impact it has for ranged DPS. One of the big problems it was having is zombie form is supposed to slow your attacks, but make them more powerful. It wasn't working correctly with ranged in that I'm not exactly sure the precise details, but it doesn't slow down all of the attack animation and the reload animation for ranged. So you were getting all of the benefits, but not the penalty that was supposed to kind of counterbalance that. So they're really kind of trying to dial this back for ranged, not so much melee.
I never messed with Shroud of the Zombie at all on my Pale Master. I don't think I've ever used it once, to be honest.
It's a really popular, or was a really popular thrower or range build. And in fact, the person who was on the top of the Reaper leaderboard for hardcore played a zombie Inquisitive.
Zinquisitive, huh?
Zinquisitive, there you go. Yeah, we'll move into Epic.
The other enhancement one that we should talk about is the Warlock Enlightened Spirit Capstone. There was an issue that they ran into with the Abyss Warlock Pact. It's the level 15 thing that turns you undead as a major form, which major forms are exclusive. So if you turn that one on, you can't use, say, the Enlightened Spirit toggle out of the level 18 core ability, which is also a major form. That isn't a big deal. And actually, this is still true. You still can't use the two at the same time. However, the capstone for Enlightened Spirit was tied into the Celestial Spirit form, which meant you couldn't use the capstone either. So what they did is they took most of the benefits from the Capstone and just made them available. If you have the Capstone, you have it. That includes the hit points, the 20% hit point boost, the +2 con, +2 charisma, and the spell power. And then they tied the base attack bonus, boost, the melee power, and range power to having the Eldritch Aura enabled as opposed to blast, cone, or chain. And that actually went through a couple iterations. Initially, they were going to put all of that Capstone under having the Aura enabled, and a bunch of people, myself included, like, hey, that's not cool. Now you're telling me if I want this Capstone, I have to play my Warlock in a specific way, because I have to use the Aura. What if I don't want to use the Aura? That's like telling me to, if I want to take a Capstone for a fighter tree, I need to be two-handed fighting. So it didn't really work for a lot of people. So we got to a much better place. In essence, you lose a little bit of base attack bonus if you're not using Aura, which means you lose a little bit of PRR. But other than that, you probably don't care about the stuff that's tied to the Aura if you're not using it in the first place. So.
And Deepwood Stalker's Heavy Draw no longer erroneously applies an old penalty, which I have not been on my Deepwood Stalkers for a long time, so I never knew there was a problem with that, but apparently that's fixed, so that's good.
I think that was a -5. It was like power attack. It's like -5 to hit, +10 to damage, and I think they just took the penalty away.
Oh, okay.
And I did a pass on it last time, but
like I said, I haven't
on that.
I've been on my Deepwood Stalker, and I couldn't tell you the last time. Anything else in the enhancements you want to talk about? I think we should just jump to the...
I was just noticed a note from Evil Pineleaf saying, spent the entire last week, forgot how kludgy the old D&D systems were. I think he's talking about the old Baldur's Gate games. I had to Google how to cast magic. Spent the entire last week in playing Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yeah. Baldur's Gate that's such a good game, though. But yeah, that's very, very different indeed. Let's see. I think we should just jump right into the random loot system.
Yeah, that sounds like a good place to go.
I think we should give a shout out to the House P favor buff now being a
he doesn't want to skip anything.
Thing.
Oh, I didn't even read that. That's amazing. Yes. That always annoyed me. You had to buy those one at a time. That is amazing. You can actually buy them all in a single purchase now. Thank you. That's awesome.
At one quick purchase.
And then all the looks like all the resist energy spells can be purchased together. I missed this in the patch notes. I didn't even know that was a thing. Well, that's amazing. So yeah, the random loot system in the game has been improved. Patrick, I know you talked to the devs about this, which we're going to talk about a little later too, but give us the gist, the elevator pitch, as it were, on the new random loot system.
So one was they wanted to make it kind of random loot to have a little more pop and pizzazz and that kind of thing. So they added a bunch of new prefixes and abilities, some of which we've seen in the past and were very short-lived. But most of them are essentially like a twofer thing. So you get a prefix that actually has two abilities on it instead of just being one. And then they kind of did some stuff with quarterstaffs in a similar vein to allow quarterstaffs to have more boosts on them. The idea being with casting quarterstaffs specifically. So that was kind of tied around the idea of they want quarterstaffs. They want you to want to use a quarterstaff as a spellcaster as opposed to just having two sticks in your hand. Because the old way, a casting quarterstaff could only have like 4 abilities on it, but if you had 2 single-handed weapons, you could have up to 6 abilities on them. So they're trying to kind of parody casting quarterstaffs with 2 casting scepters, essentially. They added a couple other things like material types. Probably the most notable one being blue shine, which the lore people had a little bit of a fit about. But the short version is if you find something that's blue shine, you can use it against oozes and rust monsters and not have it take damage. And you can even, disjunct it and make an ooze beater from Kenneth Crafting on it if you want. So that's kind of a pretty big win. The other big kind of high-flying idea here is the way the game worked before is you could run content and you get items that you couldn't use. The minimum level of them was actually higher than what you were when you ran them.
Constantly happen.
Yeah, so this is a problem for new players, particularly, and also in hardcore. So what they did is they took away this idea that you could get loot at a higher level than what you were running. So loot should not be dropping higher than the level of the quest you're running. So if you're running a level 10 quest on Elite, that makes level 12. You should find at highest level 12 gear, so you can use it immediately. That has a cascading effect into the Jewels of Fortune, which increase the level of loot that you can get, which meant that they sunsetted that system. They took it all out of the game, and they're giving you the ability to transfer or transform, trade in all of your Jewels of Fortune for Treasure Hunter elixirs, and all of the abilities that have that same +1 to loot ability now instead are a plus to the quality of loot that you would get from something like the Treasure Hunter elixirs or the bonus days that comes through every once in a while.
And I think the Jewels of Fortunes they're called Crumbling Jewels of Fortune.
Yes.
So yeah, you can
Jewels of Fortune.
You can trade those in for the Treasure Hunters elixirs.
And there was some issues with that kind of releasey parts. At least the lesser Treasure Hunter elixirs don't appear to have ever possibly been working. So that's going to be fixed in a patch we'll probably talk about later. And I think there might actually be an issue with just drinking them in general, not getting any of them, and just not getting the buff. But I don't know if that's been fixed yet. I didn't see it in the release notes.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I was going to ask you about that. If you saw anything about that other than what was in the release notes. But yeah, this is kind of exciting. It's always good to see the loot system get a little update. So we'll see how this goes.
The other thing of note is they brought back the ability for you to find stuff with more than one slot on it. So that the augment slots. So that was around for a while. You could get 2 slot items, and then they did a pass on random loot, and that went away. They brought that back.
I guess I never even paid attention that was gone, to be honest.
Well, I don't pay attention to... I so rarely get those things to put into the slots that I've usually ignored those things.
Most of them... There's some that you can get in random loot, but mostly... people tend to get them from buying them, either in the store or there's a couple of vendors in the game. Pro tip, don't use the 1 in the 12. It takes 20 tokens of the 12 to buy an augment, which is the same cost as buying a Heart of Wood from him. But a Heart of Wood costs 1,500 points. The augments cost like 95. So you're better off just buying it for points and saving the tokens for Hearts of Wood.
And let's see, I'm just scrolling through here. The Heroic Coat of the Traveler had its armor class reduced to more appropriately match other armors and of its minimum level. Okay. Diamonds of Festive Wisdom and Intelligence no longer incorrectly spell diamond when it stacks to a larger, or when it stacks larger than 1. Okay. That screams Linabelle fix right there. The Sapphire of Crushing Wave Guard and the Globe of Imperial Blood now enforce their proper minimum levels.
This was actually a weird one, if I remember correctly, because the Crushing Wave Guard would have a different minimum level depending on which color slot you put it in.
Really?
Yeah, so like, I think it was like blue was like a 20, green was like a 21 or something like that. It wasn't. It was behaving really weird. Lynn about a post on the forums, but it was funny behavior.
Well, that is now fixed and enforces the proper minimum level. And Spiral, the voice of the elements, now randomly selects its starting element, and equipping and unequipping it, I cannot speak tonight at all, will restart the cycle by clearing any active Spiral buffs off of you, and it no longer spams your combat log or uses floaty text when its buffs are applied, and it is much less likely to cause lag when equipped.
So there's two things that they're actually fixing here with this one. One is a performance issue. You swap it off, swap it out, swap it back in, and that was causing performance issues. So they kind of cleaned some of that up. The other problem was kind of an implementation problem. When you would equip the item, it would always put. Let me back up. The way that this item worked is when you have it on, I think every 15 seconds or so, it would change to a new element. So you'd get a buff for an element, and then it kind of went through this cycle. That cycle is predictive. It's always the same. But it also always started at the same point. So when you equipped it, you always got a buff to your fire spells. Also, when you took it off, you would keep that buff. So what people would do is they'd equip it and then unequip it really fast. So they'd get that fire buff for 15 seconds. And then when it ran out, they would do the same thing over and over and over again. Well, if you can imagine, if there's a performance issue with swapping this item in and out and other issues with like sentient weapons, swapping in and out and a bunch of that stuff, swapping an item in and out every 15 seconds was causing performance issues. Also, from a design standpoint, it's not desirable behavior if this item is something that people switch in every 15 seconds to get the same buff over and over again. That's not kind of the intended design. So now it randomly selects which element you're starting with, and if you unequip it, that buff goes away.
And then it starts to cycle over again because all your buffs go off, and then you start over when you re-equip it. Okay.
There's a lot of people. This is one of the other things that people are really crying out, Sorc Nerf. I don't really have the sense that it's a nerf. I have the sense that it's a implementation fix, because the intended behavior is not for you to equip and unequip this weapon, right? You're not supposed to get this buff if you're not holding the weapon.
Yeah, that's a bit. I mean, that sounds like a borderline exploit in the first place. So
it was definitely taking advantage of a poor design implementation.
Okay, I'll remove the word borderline then.
There you go. And I know another thing that caused a lot of upheaval as well was the reflection of waves. Improved water elemental form now grants 5% exceptional cold. Spell crit damage instead of 20% exceptional cold spell crit chance.
Key thing to understand here. Don't just look at the number. It went from critical chance to critical damage. Big difference. A lot of people, including in the show we just did for DDO Cast, people got caught up on it went from 20% to 5%. Yes, it did. But these are two separate stats. It's not it went down by 15%. The stat changed completely. It just looks the same. So it's cold spell critical damage. It used to be critical chance.
Crit chance, right. So in a way it's actually better now. Well, I don't know if I'd say it's better.
That will be a hotly... I think most people are calling this a nerf.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They would be right on that. 20% critical chance is a lot more powerful than critical damage, because it means 1 out of every 5 times
you're going to get a crit.
More extra damage, right? You're going to double your damage or whatever your critical damage is. I think for spells it starts at an extra 50%, but I'm not positive if that's right. So you're losing a 20% chance to deal double damage, and instead you're getting 5% extra damage when you do get that chance. So there's a huge nerf in that. Now, at a certain point, those numbers may not be the same, right? Because critical chance and damage, you can go in a lot of different crazy math directions with that, which I don't recommend.
Yeah. I'm sure that would be way too crunchy and way too headache-inducing to
if you have a
go down that road.
In math, please let us know at what point critical damage and critical chance are break even.
I'm sure out there somewhere somebody has figured that out. You know there's one person that has done this math, and good on you, sir, for doing that math.
I did do it for weapons to a certain extent, but not to that extreme.
Right. That's some crazy crunchy stuff right there. And then items that provide a scaling bonus to speed and striding now begin at 15% movement speed rather than 5%, and they gradually increase to a maximum of 30%. So that's kind of nice. So overall, anything else we need to talk about the random loot? Just go out there and get some new loot and see how it works. I guess there's, Patrick, is there anything else you think we need to talk about on the random loot, or is that okay? Quest and adventure areas. This has the greatest patch note I am excited about in a long time. And I'm
Can't
just gonna
be the first one then.
And I know it's definitely not the first one. That's a Pinely patch note.
Yes.
Korthos landscape has had some cosmetic improvements, so go run Korthos, Pinely. We know you love to do it.
Well, yes, but I'm busy doing. Yeah, I'm busy doing Borderlands right now, but I'll.
Well, you have to tell us what's different, because God knows I'm not going to go back to Korthos. So.
I guess I'll have to get a character over there at some point soon.
Yeah,
yes.
The Searing Heights landscape also has some cosmetic improvements. They fixed an issue in Assault of the Area of the Slave Lords, where clicking the exit door would send you to the exit location for the Temple of Elemental Evil. Oops.
It's actually not as bad as it sounds, because the two are just, they aren't that far apart.
There. It's just kind of funny thinking about it, like lore-wise, though. You're in two totally different places. It's like, how did I end up here? Multiple
One of those
performances.
bugs that you need about 5,000 people hitting the game with hammers to find, as opposed to like 30 people in QA.
Right, exactly. That's a strange bug, though. That's just a weird one. I'm sure it was probably just one little small pointer somewhere that said, if you click this, you go here, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess they said, well, you're in the right general area, so QA wasn't worried about it.
I think they probably just missed it. Because they would have had to, because they put everything into the Gatekeeper's Grove, they would have had to rehook all of the exit points.
Yeah.
Multiple performance issues have been corrected in Soul Survivor, and that quest is once again reopened.
And it stayed open.
So yay, we can actually get Doris' soul back now, maybe.
Oh,
spoiler.
Now I can just wonder, is the quest more sane now?
Well, no. I mean, the quest didn't change. It's just performance issues.
Just wasn't sure.
They fixed a bug that caused the named item reward chest not to spawn in the Patriarch's Crypt. Gatekeeper's Grove has a general vendor now. Thank hallelujah for that. The map in Gatekeeper's Grove no longer without its correct border.
Yay.
Yay for that as well. The greatest patch note of all time. Doors that are breakable with melee strikes can now be broken with ranged attacks. Thank the Lord. You don't know how annoying that was to me when I was on either my Warlock or my Ranger. I'd have to switch to a melee, go up and beat the door.
Yes, but I heard that they were trying to investigate on whether or not they could do the same thing for spider webs.
Oh, I didn't even think about spider webs.
In fact, I think I encounter spider webs that block me more often than doors. These breakable ones.
Yeah, I guess I never much thought about spider webs. I'm just happy about the doors. That was so annoying. That was one of the most annoying things. So that is just a great quality of life improvement right there. I mean, a lot of the times, it's just the little things like that make the game so much freaking better. Just knowing that I can break down that freaking door with my bow, or I'm assuming my Warlock can do it with the Eldritch Blast, one would think.
Yeah, and for me, it was always, with my Artificers going, yeah!
And then UI skinning has returned with an update, and a set of UI assets are available. You can go over to lotrointerface.com/downloads/cat40html for utilities, and you can skin your DDO. I know back when I first started playing, way back in the day, this used to be a thing. Because I had downloaded the skin somebody made. I can't remember what it was called, but it was super sweet looking. And then that broke, or they broke it, or they turned it. I don't know the whole story on why it stopped working, but apparently it's back.
Now, my question is, how does one get a triple-digit strength score?
A lot of bonuses.
Bonuses is an understatement. Triple digits?
Are you saying you don't have that high of a strength, Pine Leaf? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, strength
I'm
scores
lucky to
in
get
the
the 20.
strength scores in the triple digits no longer get cut off in the character sheet UI. So you can see that triple digit score now, Pine Leaf, and you can say, see, I have a triple digit score. If any of you out there have a triple digit score, you need to send a picture of it so Pine Leaf can see it.
All right.
Podcast at DDOplayers.com. I want
Does it have to be
screenshots, people.
strength?
Well,
the UI thing said it was strength, so I'm wondering.
Well, yeah, there was a font thing. Because of whatever font or something, that if you had triple digits, it didn't fit in the box. But the other ones all work. So I just want to know if I can send you, if they can send you 100 plus charisma, for example.
yes, do that. Because I want to see how to do that on my Warlock, so do that.
I want to see who gone through the trouble of getting a triple digit charisma.
So if you have some pretty insane scores on something, send it to podcast at DDOplayers.com. And we'll talk about it next week on the show. I can't wait to see what we get in the mail. To round out this patch, Reaper Tree optimizations have been done to make weapons swapping and other certain actions more efficient. As the only person on this podcast that plays Reaper is Patrick, what do you have to say about this?
Oops. Let's talk about we'll use that as a transition into the patch that's coming tomorrow.
Exactly. Hold that thought. And then text that still pointed players to the Hall of Heroes to find the Gatekeeper NPCs have been updated to guide the players to the correct location. And some NPCs in the marketplace that used to jostle players are now ethereal. And numerous typos have been fixed. So that is update 46 patch 2. And of course, with an update usually comes a fix and downtime, which was announced. Downtime notice is going to be, as we record this, tomorrow, Tuesday, June the 9th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, -4 GMT. The Reaper difficulty, which kind of tied into the oops comment, is getting fixed. So Patrick, you want to kind of explain what was going on? I know people were really not happy about this.
So the short version, backing up a couple steps, which we talked about on the Ask the Devs episode we did, is they changed how your character holds on to information from the Reaper enhancement trees. The reason they wanted to do that is because several actions would cause your character to have those reapplied. So say if you went into or out of a rage, your character would reapply all of their Reaper points. If you have 5 Reaper points, not so big of a deal. Although I did, on hardcore at one point, I did notice just even reapplying 8 points. If you have 100 Reaper points, and you're reapplying that every couple of minutes, you can imagine how that would impact performance. So they changed how your character holds on to the information. The key part being that it applies at the beginning of the quest, which does take a little bit longer to apply. So you will notice, and people have been noticing, the load-in time for a quest on Reaper is a little bit longer. The good news is in doing that, they did actually really improve performance issues. Swapping weapons, armors, raging, a number of things are much cleaner in the game now. Unfortunately, your character's not holding onto the information very well, which means, among other things, you're not getting the hit points you're supposed to be getting from the Reaper enhancement trees.
Oops.
And depending on how many points you have, that can turn out to be, 1,000 hit points or more. which is pretty significant when you're talking about hit points. So this is hopefully going to fix that. There's also a couple other things that are broken with it. Some of the trees or some cores weren't being able to be trained. Some cores are supposed to be applied outside of Reaper dungeons and weren't being. There's some kind of nutty stuff going on. I know for me, the character that I've been leveling up during this time, it looked like through level 15 it was actually applying correctly, and then I hit level 16 and I lost about 150 hit points to 200 hit points. So that level is pretty significant.
So yes, that will be fixed in the patch tomorrow. Also, an issue where some random loot material types were displaying incorrectly. That will be fixed. The crumbling jewels of fortune are now going to point you to the correct crafting NPC to trade those in. And the minor treasure hunter elixirs are now functioning correctly. So if you're listening live, I would wait until tomorrow to use one of the minor treasure hunter elixirs.
Absolutely.
Because it's not doing anything for you now, so you might as well wait.
Might as well wait.
So once again, that patch is tomorrow, Tuesday, June the 9th. So when you listen to this episode, it is already transpired and everything is good. So go play the game and use the treasure hunter elixirs and get all your Reaper hit points.
Get all your Reaper hit points? Well, I am unlikely to have any Reaper hit points. So.
Well, seeing you don't play Reaper, probably not. But yeah.
All right. Then let's head on to another little oops. And I think Patrick knows something about this.
It's all his fault.
Oops.
The Lord of the Blades raid is closed, and it's all Patrick's fault.
I had a lot of fun doing it too.
Yes, Jerry Cordovan did post over on the forums. Temporary raid closure. Lord of Blades. Lord of Blades raid has been temporarily closed due to a bug that made the legendary work that is in progress version of the raid available on the live worlds. We will reopen the raid in the near future. Explain yourself, Patrick.
Well, you could go in on legendary. So we did. And we recorded it and put it on the forums and completed it on Reaper 1 and Reaper 4 and got smacked around on Reaper 6. And it was a blast, and they're on the right track.
They're on the right track.
I just find it funny that, yeah, you told them about this.
Well, yeah, we posted it on the forums and said, hey, look, we completed this.
Hey, look.
It was a lot of fun. Nice
hey,
job.
look, legendary, look.
We play tested it for you.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Exactly.
I'm mildly disappointed. They have, as far as I know, no one on the team has asked us what we thought about the raid, and
that's what I was just about to ask.
The only response I got was a response to, "Hey, we completed this on Legendary," and the response was, "Wait, what?"
Wait, what? Closed.
If you're wondering why this is music, this is not supposed to come out until update 47.
Yes. Quite a while from now. So, yeah.
But it comes out in July or August.
But it's kind of funny. So, yeah, we're just blaming Patrick for this. So, if you enjoyed the Lord of Blades raid and wanted to do it, you can just blame Patrick for not being able to do it for a while until it's fixed, quote unquote fixed.
I bet you they get it fixed tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sure it won't take long because I'm sure it's just one little small piece of code that hooked the wrong. I would guess it just took the wrong version of the.
It replaced the Epic version. Or probably what it is. It just replaced the door to the Epic version. So.
Well, if they're going to have it fixed tomorrow, wouldn't it be in the patch notes?
Maybe. They don't always put bug fixes in the release notes. So.
All right, you got a point there.
That's very true.
Then
it's all Patrick's fault, but that's all we have to say.
Then let's head over to the hardcore server, which is now reopened, and any character transfers are once again available from the hardcore server. And Patrick, did you play on that any?
Yeah, I did.
Was that like a serious question you asked him, or?
Well, I was just. I was trying
you
to
did
lead
it.
into having someone who's actually done it to talk about
You,
it.
you did it so deadpan that I was like, "Are you serious in this question?"
I mean, Drax done it.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
that was
did.
last season.
Yeah, I guess I didn't do it this time.
I mean, even I did it during the first
But,
season.
Yeah, but I might do it next time because we found some things out. This kind of not really has to do with anything about it being reopened and you can transfer your characters off.
Which, by the way, if you're listening to this live, do it right now. If you're listening to this recorded, you're too late.
Right.
In other words, something might get closed.
Yeah, it's
closes. Well,
getting
it's
closed.
through tomorrow, June 9th. So if you don't listen to this before then, it's probably too late.
So the
What that means is they'll turn it off Wednesday morning, probably.
The 4 of you that are listening and not logged into the chat room, go transfer your characters right now is what we're saying. But yeah, you want to talk about Hardcore Season 3, which, I mean, we knew was coming, but we found out maybe a little information about?
Well, so what happened is another thing similar to Lord of Blades that's already in the world right now is the Season 3 vendor. Eretrikos has been replaced by an Archon, who, among other things, let us know that Season 3 you'll be able to earn extra lives. It looks like that's going to be tied to achieving a certain level, but that's kind of the only details we have there. You can also actually go and talk to him to find out what the rewards are, maybe, for Season 3. I mean, that could change, especially since it looks like it's exactly the same as Season 2, just different cosmetics, but we'll see what happens with that.
And I'm trying to pull this up real quick to tell you. Here we go. Like you said, this might change, though. But yeah, the Archon did replace Eretrikos. And the Archon says currently, once again, could be subject to change. If you die, I can save you, but thrice. After that, you're his forever. That's ominous. And then 1,750 Faber is an Archon helm. 5,000 Faber is an Archon mount. 10 Reaper points is the Season 3 cloak. And 20 Reaper points is the Lantern Archon pet. And nothing at level 20 is specified right now. Just if you wanted to know. So that's kind of interesting. I'm kind of interested to know what the mount's going to look like. But I find it interesting that it's the whole thing. Wasn't the whole purpose of hardcore to be permadeath, but now you can die and then still? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess we have to see how it's going to be implemented and what it's going to look like.
I mean, people have been suggesting it since hardcore came out, right? This idea
that is true. They have, yes.
Lives. I know on our show, I've proposed the idea of, hey, what would it look like if you could get an extra life, but that cost you part of your progress, right? So if you were trying to go for the Reaper XP, if you could buy an extra life for 20k Reaper XP, which is a fifth of what you want for that first benchmark, what would that look like? And how would that change how people play and stuff like that? I think we're going to continue to see Hardcore League be a kind of a fun-ish testing ground, shall we say? Like, they'll try a few things with it.
Right.
I think it was only a matter of time before they gave you extra lives to work with. It does sound like you need to reach a certain level in order to take benefit from that. They're not just giving you lives to start with. So I don't know that it's correct to just say that it's Reaper Light right out of the gate.
Right. I'm curious, so I can't wait till we actually get something official and they officially, announce it and tell us all the stuff. Do you have any guesses when you think it's going to start?
Well, let's see. There's about 3 months between the first two seasons, not including the transfer window. So season 2 ended mid-May. So what is that? Mid-August, which is when season 1 started, I believe.
Yeah, because it started soon after Gen Con. Yeah. So yeah.
It's probably going to be when it comes, I guess. depending on, because I don't think the expansion is going to come out until later this year. Possibly not until after it's out, after season 3 is done.
That's what I kind of assumed, but
based on what they've said previously about not wanting to like super change the ecosystem during a hardcore season, I would expect that season 3 is going to come out earlier than people probably want or think, because I don't think we're going to get an expansion during a hardcore season, because the expansion is we already know going to come with an iconic, a new race, and that really changes the ecosystem. So there's probably a lot of it. Also is going to increase the level cap, and one of the things that we talked about in Ask the Devs is this idea that they don't want to. They do have some character balance stuff coming, but that it's kind of tied to increasing the level cap, which will happen during the expansion. So I would expect season 3 to conclude before the expansion. So if that comes out in mid-August, then you're looking at that would end November, which is when it ended last time. So probably we get the expansion sometime early December, week after Thanksgiving, I would guess.
That's probably a good guess timeline.
You're reading
We'll
the tea
see.
leaves.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'll give them time to actually make it. Anything else on the hardcore server before we head on to the Chronicle?
Nope, I think that's it.
And then as it's time for the DDO Chronicle, where is that thing?
I think it's in one of the new Lost Gatekeeper quests.
All right, I guess I don't remember that particular scene.
I think that's my best guess. Pretty sure that's where it's at. But anyway, community spotlights this week. Axel is discussing the free quest coupon and the update 46 patch 2 that we just talked about. So click over and see Axel's thoughts on that. And Siegfried Trent is now streaming DDO. You can find him on DDO stream on Saturday mornings. Click over to watch the recent show that he had over on Facebook. And if that name sounds kind of familiar, used to host DDO Cast before Patrick.
Yep.
He took over for Jerry.
Yes.
Sig and Ann took over after Jerry, and then Patrick took over from them. I think was the chain of events that happened there.
Got it in one.
So, hey, I got something right at least tonight. Yay! In the guild hall, the Blood of Heroes, like the guild name, is a friendly level 74 guild over on Thelanis, is laid back and looking for a new and experienced players to quest with. The guild is most active on the weekends and live in the Eastern Time Zone. Contact Alexia or Daleth in-game on Thelanis for more information. And some of you might notice, hey, they mentioned the guild hall. What's up with that? I had a couple messages that asked, why do you never talk about the guild hall? And I really didn't have a good answer. I usually just kind of skipped it for no apparent reason. So I'm making a conscious effort to talk about the guild hall now.
Okay.
So there you go. Fansite news section, DDO Kasplat tries to survive. Good luck with that.
No,
You can watch their recent episode, and we'll talk about Kasplat a little bit too, but I still love watching that. That is such an enjoyable show to watch. DDO stream is your first stop to find DDO on Twitch. This week, DDO PL doubles its trouble. D&D night on DDO stream. I mess that up every freaking time. Runs Dungeon of the Mad Mage tabletop. And Doug Glendower is a little late. Strim Tom gets older over on Twitch. Samus Garobo prepares to reincarnate. And SWE Cookie has cookies, which makes sense when you have a name like SWE Cookie. Over on YouTube, lots of people playing DDO as well. Super Bits and Bob does a newbie first life summary. Cheats Jamin has a surprising review. And Newbie Carabra solos Heroic Abbot on Elite. Good on you, Sor. That is crazy that you're soloing the Abbot.
There's a lot of luck involved with that, just because of the goggles phase, having to blindly run across different tiles.
That's what I haven't watched this video yet, but I'm going to have to watch that video because that's what I was going to say. How did he do the goggle part?
I mean, it's been done before a few times in the past. Abundant step or leap of faith kind of abilities definitely help because you only have to land a few times in the ether. So
Right.
but
Yeah,
that's
okay.
kind of the gist of it.
But
Run fast and touch the ground as few times as possible.
There you go. The Order of Synlectica is back. Click to see their new blog. Good to see them back blogging again. And of course, Mickey is chronicling her rating in week 175. We have a chronicle comment this week. The most checked out book in the Stormreach library is blank.
Getting rid of a kobold infestation. Or how to get rid of a kobold infestation.
That's a good answer. My answer is Mummy Rot for Dummies.
So my answer is more amusing if you were listening to the DDO Cast, because we spent about 10 minutes discussing stacking rules of universal spell power, and the wave reflection of the wave change. But the Idiot's Guide to Stacking.
There you go. Yep. I like it. Screenshot of the week in our chronicle is Skin Clipper gallops back to the Keep on the Borderlands in the 466 DDO screenshot of the week. And Slasher send that in. That's a pretty cool screenshot. Out in the Borderlands on his horse. And that is our chronicle.
Then let's head out into our store sales. And I heard that this week we have a big sale.
We do, because bigger is better. 25% off Gold Seal Elixirs of Sovereign Healing, 100 of those. Superior Spell Point Potions, 100 of those. Sovereign Guild Renowned Elixirs, 25 of those. Colossal Ingredient and Augment Bags, and that runs through June the 11th. 25% off all those, if I didn't mention that. And our weekly coupon code is the free lasting potion of protection from evil, +2 5 potions. Coupon code Away Evil, which is kind of funny. AWAYEBIL, Away Evil, now through June 11th. But don't get any ideas of using those when we play together on my Warlock Pine Leaf, because I'll get mad.
Okay. Then let's head into the highlight for today's show, where Patrick is going to discuss his little interview with the devs.
Not just an interview with the devs, Pine Leaf.
Yeah.
It was the 600th episode of DDO Cast.
Woo.
Which is freaking amazing. Can we just talk about the fact that DDO Cast has had 600 episodes, and you've done half of those? Is that right, Patrick?
I started at 301.
Okay, so
exactly half then.
yeah. That's amazing. That is awesome. Yeah, because you just had a new episode come out, so you're at what,
601 just got published. Yeah.
Okay.
This Ask the Devs was perhaps most emblematic of the fact that I've been doing this for 300 episodes because I wanted to do something special for 600 and didn't want to prep anything for it, so I didn't ask the devs.
There you go. Well, it worked out well because you got it was great. I mean, it's always great when you chat with the devs because they tend to be a little more chatty with you than they are when they're on our show for some reason. But, it's fine. I'm not bitter or anything. It's okay.
It's Cordovan's old home.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's very true.
There's an art to Ask the Devs. I have found that it's ask them questions that they want to be asked. That's how you get them talking. So
I'll have to remember that.
So, stuff that's coming out or that has just come out, like that's the stuff that they really like to talk about. A lot of the questions that players ask frequently are questions that generally end up in the, hey, we'd love to just talk about that, but we don't have anything to comment on for it because it's too far out in the iteration schedule, or they're just not, like, they don't have any plans to do anything about it, and that kind of thing. I do get questions from players to a certain extent, but I've kind of learned which ones. Because I've done Ask the Devs probably a dozen times at this point. You kind of learn which questions are worth asking and which ones aren't worth asking. And I also, behind the scenes, pre-screen the questions with Cordovan. So I do get an idea of questions like, don't answer this question. Like, we're not going to answer this question for one reason or another. And you don't answer the question.
Yeah. Yeah, but a little behind the scenes baseball too for our podcast as well. I do that as well with Cordovan, and he does the same thing with him. He's like, yeah, no, we're not going to answer that, so don't even ask it.
Some of those questions,
so,
we'll still kind of go through the process of, hey, I want to ask this question because it's on a lot of people's mind, and their answer, no, I know going into it, the answer is, we appreciate that you're looking for answers on that question. We don't have anything to say right now.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's fine.
It's amazing how on the I don't know how it is on the Wednesday DDO stream because I keep on forgetting about that, but I've often listened to the one for the other show, and yeah, it's amazing how many of the questions that are asked during that stream are the same ones they've been asking for the last 6 months with the same answer, because they're thinking that maybe if I ask it every single week, I will get a different answer this week.
Right, I'll break him down. I know he's going to answer this week. I know he will.
Yeah. It's like,
I'll say it again. Here's the trick to asking the devs questions. Ask the questions they want to answer, not the questions you want them to answer. Because the questions they want, these people want to tell us and show us the stuff. Even when you get the questions, like when we talked about character balance and work on that, they couldn't say a whole lot about it because a lot of that is tied to the level increase. But you could tell that they really wanted to talk about it, right? Like, they are not nefarious people. They're not trying to pull a rug over anyone's eyes or anything. Like, they want to tell us about what they're doing, and they want us to experience the cool things that they're doing. But if you ask them questions that, like, the questions that a lot of players always want them to ask, like, these are questions that are important to the players, which is not bad. It's just the question that's important to you is not necessarily what's important to them, and it's not necessarily something they can tell you about in the first place.
Let's just jump into talk about a little bit what you talked about, and then of course I got this linked in the show notes, so you can go over and check out the episode if you have not yet. But over on the forums, Leo Lyon did put together a nice little summary. He says, during my watch through of the interview, I wrote down all the things I felt were noteworthy. Enjoy. You started out talking about Hardcore Season 2. What would you think their sum up of what Hardcore Season 2 was like from their perspective?
Caveat that this was a couple weeks ago, so remembering that from then. Basically, they didn't learn a whole lot of new information as much as they kind of iterated on stuff they already knew. Traps are dangerous. The random loot revamp kind of came out of this, but not because of the. I think that loot revamp was already in the works when Season 2 kind of went live, based on stuff from Season 1. So I think it mostly kind of reinforced what they knew already this time around. Where Season 1, the reason I asked this question is because Season 1, they came out and said, oh, okay, we learned a few things about Season 1, and we're going to tweak some of these quests and make some things less deadly and stuff like that. The one thing I was kind of somewhat disappointed about with the part of this conversation, though, was that they were really non-committal about bringing the Season 2 hardcore champions over to the live servers, which I really kind of want to see. They had a complete new suite of champions for hardcore Season 2, which meant you didn't really know what they all did. Some of the effects were surprising. I even called out the champion that turns you to gold with a dot effect on you, dot damage effect on you, was really mean.
That sounds really mean.
It was not friendly.
Oh my god! Yeah,
You're
not on a hardcore server.
Ongoing damage. Good luck.
Oh, jeez.
So, what do you mean by champion?
The guys with the crowns on their head. So if you run a quest on Hard, Elite, or Reaper, you can run to different levels of champions.
Which we never see because we never run on those levels.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about those guys.
Yeah, they get the crown. So there's a yellow, red, or an orange crown.
Yeah,
Actually,
okay.
yellow,
Yeah,
orange,
it's
red.
been a while since I've seen one of those. Yes.
Yeah, like on the rare occasions we do run on
Yeah.
that level. Those are the guys I always say, hey, a Burger King crown is coming. Because it looks like the Burger King crown, which is what I call the champions. But yeah.
So those champions have been around since they came out. And season 2, one of the things that I heard a lot from people had on the show, and the new champions were a lot of fun because it was a new, changed experience. Right, you didn't even really realize it until you got new ones. That the ones that we've had for a long time are kind of stale now. Like, you know what they are really well if you've been running into them a lot, because they've been out for a couple of years now. So I was really hoping that either that they would at least bring some of those season 2 champions in, either like commingle with the ones we have now or replace them or something. Just like,
Well, yeah, that would be kind of cool, actually.
Right?
I kind of like that idea. Yeah, it would.
I think just add them to the pile would be kind of the most fun way to do it. It dilutes.
Well, yeah, you would think it would be easy for them to do, I would assume.
Yeah. They're really non-committal on that, which I was really kind of bummed about.
And you did talk about the Feywild expansion. I think the most interesting thing I got out of this part was that the shifter's shifting ability is going to be tied to Barbarian Rage.
That's a little bit. Leo Lion did a really good job with the kind of the write-up. That I think is not accurate. The sense that I got was that it's a similar thing. It's like it modeled after the Barbarian Rage is kind of what their shifting will do. Not that you have to be a Barbarian in Rage to get the benefits of it.
Okay, see, that's how I took it. Even listening to it, I took it that you had to be a Barbarian. Okay.
I don't know. I would be shocked if that was the case, because it would be really out of place for them to have a racial ability tied to a class ability.
Yeah, see, and that's kind of what I thought too. I'm like, that's kind of an odd choice, but okay. But okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, my understanding is that the shifting will be like Barbarian Rage, in that you activate an ability, you're quote shifting as opposed to raging, and you get bonuses to it. Probably depending on, I expect there'll be kind of some variance on the shifting, either through kind of a feat list, a la like Warlock Packs, like we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Or their racial enhancement tree will do some of that stuff.
Well, actually, when I think about shifting being tied to something like rage, it makes me think of lycanthropy almost, because
I think there's some similarities there, but I don't.
There is, yeah.
Like I'm not a lore guy, but I don't think shifters just naturally can wild shape, essentially.
They can't. It's like a whole process to be
Okay.
able to do it and to learn it. Yeah.
It's more
And
of
there's-
you get minor character, you change minor characteristics about yourself. So maybe your eyes get better, or
Right,
you get
yeah.
some sharper claws or something like that.
okay.
Yeah, it's there's like a whole thing that you go through. I never actually played a shifter in pen and paper, but yeah, it's like there's a whole thing with it, and eventually you can get to the point where you can like shift into like a werewolf if you want, or something like that. But that's like once you're very, very highly skilled being a shifter.
Yeah, we might see
At,
in their
at least in
enhancement
pen
tree
and paper.
some things that like tie into Barbarian Rage, or possibly like a Druid Wild Shape or Animal Form. But I would not, if we do get something like that, I would not expect it to be very much, if at all. And I would expect it to kind of be its own thing, like Barbarian Rage, that you activate separately. I think they're just using that as kind of the model.
And then also going along with the shifter, because that's coming in the Feywild expansion, they did say that the scope of the expansion is going to be similar to other SSG expansions.
Which includes an iconic shifter.
Which is a barb that uses hand wraps.
Yes.
A
so
bard?
Barbarian.
Barb.
Oh, barb.
Barbarian.
Okay.
Barb.
Okay, sorry.
Barbarian.
So a barbarian that uses hand wraps, which they're doing for a couple of reasons. One is, I think I don't think an iconic being a barbarian for a shifter is a surprise to anybody. Shifters, I don't think shifters lend themselves to a lot of different iconic archetypes. The way that tiefling, bard, or warlock was kind of a debate, maybe sorcerer, but they're going barbarian. The hand wraps thing, they're doing for a couple reasons. One is because it's thematically fits, right? So you're talking about an animal-ish race, using claws to attack. The other part about it is they want to find ways to expand hand wraps as a weapon type, because right now, basically, you have to be a monk to use them. I think you can kind of get away with using them in Grandmaster of Flowers, but not so much. You still kind of have. It kind of makes you part monk in a way. But I think that this will allow us to have more options to use hand wraps and more builds to use hand wraps. Potentially, there's an opportunity here that, maybe you can use if you can use hand wraps as a barbarian, you won't have to be centered, presumably, because you can't be a barbarian and a monk at the same time anyways. But maybe you can use hand wraps with, say, armor, which would be a novel concept in the game.
I've never wanted to play a barbarian, but now I kind of do. A barbarian with hand wraps that just beats the crap out of people? Sure, sign me up.
Yeah, I think that we'll see a lot of interesting things, and the work they've done recently with hand wraps to make them act and behave like weapons as opposed to this really special thing called hand wraps will really come into play here, and is probably, there may have even been some forethought into this as a thing to do that work earlier. That is entirely possible. But yeah, I would also kind of expect maybe there might be some tweaking to hand wrap numbers out of this.
One would assume so, yes.
Because they've only ever had to balance hand wraps around monks. So there's actually been some changes in the past that they've done to hand wraps to help balance monks. So opening that up to a whole, not just barbarian, but through that, a whole lot of other classes and not having to be centered, we might see some tweaks to hand wraps in general.
I just imagine a barbarian wearing hand wraps. It almost sounds more like a paracesti rather than real hand wraps.
Steelstar has actually said on more than one occasion that he, I don't know if he still has it, but he built a barbarian specifically to be in Grandmaster of Flowers and use hand wraps. It's a very Steelstar concept here.
Yes. It does sound like Steelstar a lot. And then unicorns, of course, are confirmed.
We knew that.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's really not news. But I still want to know, are we going to get a unicorn mount? All they have kind of said is there will be unicorns.
Well, yeah, but to have a unicorn mount, you would have to be a female character, right?
I mean,
okay,
here's my take on this. The answer to that question is yes, we are going to have unicorn mounts. The question is not if, it's when. Right?
Right, exactly. Because it's got to be coming, right?
They're going to come. They're going to be really popular. A lot of people are going to want them. My expectation has been that it will be included in the upper tier of the Feywild expansion. I
could see that.
I would expect, that we're going to get the same kind of 3-tier system that we've gotten with Ravenloft and Sharn. My guess is that unicorns will be a mount that come with the upper level of the expansion,
the Ultimate Edition or whatever they are, the fan. I forgot what they call it. Yeah, I could see that too,
because we've gotten other cosmetic-y stuff in that place, and we're expecting this to be pretty similar. Right? They said the scope was going to be pretty similar. I'm sure the iconic will be part of that. The rate, look at Sharn, compare it to Ravenloft. They're almost exactly the same, just different things, right? Just different names and styles, right? We're gonna get some cosmetic armor and hats and stuff, cloaks, that kind of stuff. I'm expecting unicorn mounts to be there. Having said that, now that we know that Season 3 of Hardcore is going to be an angel theme and celestial-based rewards, I am mentally prepared for the possibility that Hardcore Season 3's mount will be a unicorn.
A unicorn mount? No,
possibly.
See, they could possibly do that too.
They could. I don't think so. They could, but I still feel like it's most likely going to be introduced as part of the expansion as a perk that's going to really drive people into the ultimate tier.
Right.
From a business standpoint, I think that's the place that makes the most sense.
Oh, yeah, because everybody's, like you said, everybody's going to want a unicorn mount. So what do I have to do to get it? Oh, I got to buy the Ultimate Fan Bundle. Okay, fine. Here's my $150 or whatever it is. Yeah, exactly.
I think it was $130.
Yeah.
There are people, I can come up with 4 or 5 people that I know that if you put a unicorn mount in the upper tier of the Feywild expansion, they will buy it specifically because of that without looking at anything else.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure everyone who plays this game knows at least 2 or 3 people, if not 5 or 10, that are in that same boat.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I could think of 2 people right off the top of my head right now that would just, okay, yep, sign me up. Here's my credit card. Give it to me.
Just for a unicorn mount.
Just tell me how much the unicorn mount costs, and I will buy it.
Right.
That's a lot of people out there. So
it's not like mounts are important in this game as they are in the other game.
No, and they're pretty easy to get too. But that's
but I mean, point. No, it's the point is you have a cool unicorn mount. You're riding a unicorn, Pine Lake. A unicorn, for God's sakes.
All right.
And then you also talked about the random loot.
Actually, I would like a tricorn, meaning a triceratops.
That will be an Isle of Dread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, again,
it probably won't be a triceratops, but I'm sure Isle of Dread will either be an expansion or will be like White Plume Mountain and Other Tales, and there'll be a bonus pack with it, or like Borderlands, there'll be this bonus pack that'll have a dinosaur mount of some kind.
Of course there's going to be a dinosaur mount. But unfortunately, it's intended for the future, and there's no timeline on it, because you guys talked about that in the interview as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about unicorns. Like, I'm in the camp of, there's a dinosaur mount, how much? Here's my money.
Exactly. Shut up and take my money. Exactly. Anything else that you want to hit? You talked about a bunch of stuff. Like I said, you can go over in the show notes and kind of see the cool rundown with timestamps as well that Leo Lyon put together for this. So just anything else you kind of want to highlight about Ask the Devs?
For people who don't listen to DDO Cast, they just listen to you guys instead. Because we do a lot of the same stuff. Cover a lot of the same ground. They did talk about the legendary raids that are coming with Update 47 are going to be Lord of Blades, Master Artificer, and Vision of Destruction. So this was kind of the first confirmation of that information. We kind of touched on the balance thing. There's a bunch of balance stuff that they're working on, but they weren't really talk about because it has to do with the level cap increase. So they didn't really want to get into that yet. I'm not ready to do that. I think we talked about some of the stuff that they did for performance issues. With Legendary, Lord of Blades, and Master Artificer, they're kind of redoing alchemical crafting. Well, they're not really redoing it. They're taking the cost out. So if you have an alchemical weapon, you can just go upgrade it for free. You don't need to get the bits from the raids. The Legendary raids are just going to drop fully formed stuff. There's not going to be a crafting system. And then we talked about a bunch of stuff that's just kind of at best in the theoretical phase at this point. Some of those things being redoing, like epifying or legendaryfying the Stealer of Souls chain, mega servers, which I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of took a little bit farther than they intended when Severlin talked about it at PAX East. It's just a conceptual thing, like what they would like to do. They don't have any plans right now to consolidate servers in any way. That's just what Severlin would like to do if they go that direction and do the work to consolidate servers. But there's a lot of work they still have to do, so they haven't done anything on that. They haven't really done any design iteration on that or anything like that.
Yeah. And anyway, right now, I suspect the populations are up at the moment, so
yes.
It's not exactly the time to consolidate things.
Well,
or am I wrong?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Definitely the game is doing really well right now. I think the idea of that they've been putting out this free content. They're extending that for 3 more months. So almost half the year, all of their content will be free, and beyond that, anyone playing during that window or up through the end of that window can get all of their non-expansion content for free. there's been some people have kind of questioned, like, oh, does this mean the game's going to go under? Like, no, the game is doing really well, and they've found that having less restrictions to content is driving more people into the game, and they're buying more things. Keep in mind that the races are not free, classes are not free, so there's a lot of people probably buying a lot of that stuff. Perks with the game, shared bank, a lot of that stuff is people probably buying some of that stuff. So the stuff that we did talk about that's kind of conceptual in nature, the one that seems like it's farthest along is doing a revamp of the augment system, which they have a plan. They know what they want to do. They just have to do the work, which it sounds like they think that that's going to take 6 months worth of time divided between 3 different people. So
that's crazy.
Based on what Nimbin told me on the show, 601, actually, that has gone down from a standpoint of a few years ago. That work would have taken several years to do. So they've either done some other stuff around the edges that makes that easier to do, or they just have all gotten really better at their job and it would take less time.
And then I see you talked about Legendary Pit. Why?
Who needs Legendary Pit?
Well, yeah, exactly. Who does need a Legendary Pit?
There's a lot of people that actually responded and was like, yes, bring on Legendary Pit. They about equaled the number of people that were like, no, please, no. Which is consistent. If you talk to Torque, who is the designer of the pit and several dungeons and quests, he's been around for a long time and done a lot of iterations. He is intensely proud of the fact that the pit consistently falls on people's top 5 most hated dungeons and top 5 most loved dungeons.
Love dungeons, yeah. That the pit is definitely one of them. You love it or you hate it. There's no in between on that.
Is the Crucible one of those divisive ones also?
There is nothing in this game like the pit in terms of divisiveness.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the Crucible, I just have a loathing, heated hatred for. But yeah, the pit does divide people in, oh my god, I love the pit, or oh my god, don't even mention the pit to me. So yeah.
I think it's becoming a far less... people have been learning how to do the pit for a while, and it's... if you look at how the quests line up and level ranges, it's a fairly popular TR quest to do. Crucible is too, but to a lesser extent, I think. Just because it's longer. But the pit, if you get a 3 people who really know the pit, you can get in and out of there in 20 minutes and get a whole buttload of XP for it. So, and there's not as many options at that level range.
So go check out episode 600. Once again, congratulations on that of DDO Cast. We do have the link in the show notes for that, so go listen to that episode. And once again, just congratulations on 600. That's amazing to me that a DDO podcast has been around for 600 episodes.
Yeah, it kind of goes quick before you know it. But my response to that is it's because people listen to the show and engage in the show and want to be on the show, and I mean that's why I do it. It's not something I do just because I want to do it. I enjoy 80% of doing it, but the reason why it still happens is because people listen to the show and give feedback and enjoy it.
And then along with DDO Cast, you do a couple other things. You want to talk about some of that stuff, like DDO Splat and the work you do over on D&D Night on DDO Stream?
DDO Splat is me playing with a couple other people on Kyber. We play most Wednesdays. We play on higher difficulty than we probably should. We spend a lot of time as Soulstones. And then we also kind of just randomly talk about things. A lot of sports and movies. Although that has been, unfortunately for us, our 2 favorite topics have been lacking the last couple of months.
Yeah.
But you can watch us do some stuff on higher difficulties. Kind of my hope out of it, too, is people recognize that, you don't have to be all geared up and really good at the game to have some success and have fun in Reaper mode. That's kind of why we do it, is to show that, we die a lot. It's okay. We're still having fun. You can too. Just don't accidentally teleport out of a quest. Both. death can be fun occasionally. Not so much on hardcore, but
well, yeah. And then how about D&D night on D&D night on DDO stream? Man, I don't know why that trips me up every stinking time. And I'm on the stupid thing several times, and I still can't pronounce it.
You're in several different iterations, as am I. D&D night on DDO stream is something we've been doing for a year and a half, really hard, but it started a little more than 2 years ago, where we play tabletop D&D on DDO stream using Fantasy Grounds, and I DM a couple of groups. D&D Kasplat is on infinite hold at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to bring that back at some point. Stormreach Chronicles is my 5th edition Fantasy Grounds adaptation of DDO. The quests take a lot longer to do in pen and paper, and probably just as much time to create. But we've been doing that for a little while. That's kind of my primary one right now. And then we did this special that I'm calling the Rumble Arena, where I got 3 teams of 4, and we played King of the Hill for a little while.
That was super fun to watch. I watched the on demand of that. So you're saying, yeah, that was really fun to watch. That was well put together.
Thanks. I actually got the idea from some other friends that did a PvP thing, and the feedback I got from, I wasn't part of it, but the feedback I heard from a lot of the players who I'm friends with and are in my home group as well, was essentially that it was a lot of fun. The problem is that people who were good at building characters built really good characters, and the people who built something last minute and didn't know what they were doing didn't, and there was a power discrepancy there. And the range people just stayed out of range and pummeled everybody else. So the King of the Hill scenario was a direct kind of to address those issues, in the sense that, one, I built all of the characters, so players had to pick between them. And then King of the Hill, the whole point of the game becomes occupy this space in the center, and it drives people together as opposed to wedging them up, encouraging them to separate.
Right, yeah.
And I actually did, before I did the one on D&D night, I actually did it with my home group and an extended group of friends. And it was a lot of success, and we had a lot of fun. That group did slightly better in the competition, because at the end, that group got through 7 complete rounds, and rounds like 3, 4, and 5, the score between the 3 teams was, the gap was about 2 points for 3 consecutive rounds. Like they were just neck and neck the whole time, until one group got ahead and paid for it, because when we ended, they were ahead, but also were almost dead. But it was a lot of fun.
But yeah, I will put links in the show note for you can check out the DDO Splat episodes and the DD Night on DDO Stream episodes as well. And don't forget, Patrick does host DDO Cast. Links will be in the show notes for that as well.
DDOcast.com and @DDOcast on Twitter are the 2 places to know for that show. You can also find it on iTunes and podcasting platforms as well.
Like us, we're everywhere as well, too. And I think with that, we can move on, Pineleaf.
And let's go and find out what's coming in from the dungeon. And it looks like the only thing I see in the dungeon is a rescheduling.
Yes, Free RPG Day has been rescheduled for July. Of course, COVID-19 is to blame for this. Gaming Days LLC has announced they have rescheduled the Free RPG Day. The new date is July 25th. The event was originally slated for June. This weekend, actually, is when it was supposed to take place. So this upcoming weekend, you can't get your free RPGs this weekend because it's moved July 25th. And of course, if you're not familiar with what Free RPG Day is, it's kind of like Free Comic Book Day. If you're familiar with that, you go to your local friendly game store, and they have a bunch of RPGs and other various accessories that you can get for free. And each
rocket-propelled grenades?
that would be awesome, but no.
Okay.
Would be a little dangerous, but no.
Okay.
You can, each game store has their own way that they do it. Some of them just put them out on a table and it's like a free-for-all. But what happens is like the store has to buy this free RPG Day kit, and there is only so many copies of each of these things in the kit. But there is stuff from 9th Level Games, Army Painter, Crucible 7, Dave Taylor Miniatures, and Mantic Games, Fantasy Flight Games, Gatekeeper Games, Goodman Games, Hit Point Press, Magpie Games, Oni Games, Paizo, Q Workshop, Renegade Game Studios, Roll20, and WizKids. So, as I said, you just walk into your free RPG Day and your store, your friendly local game store on RPG Day, and usually most stores just have a table, and you just take the stuff in hopes that you stay in the store and spend some money as well. Please just don't go into a store, grab a bunch of free stuff, and then leave. The point is to kind of get you into the game store. But you can, like I said, you can get RPG books. They're usually like starter sets to the books. It's not like you're getting a full book. But you're getting a pretty good size starter, because I know last year I got the Renegade Game Studios. It was 2 adventures for kids on bikes, and it was a pretty thick book that they gave. And the Goodman Games was Dungeon Call Classics adventure, which was pretty thick as well. And then they also have dice and stuff like that. But I said each of your game stores does it differently, so check with your game store on how they're going to do it. Some of your game stores even requires you that you have to make a purchase to get some of the items free. Others just give them to you. So it's kind of up to the game store, because they are paying for this. They have to buy this crate from them to get this free stuff.
And let's just say that this is probably a good time to consider supporting your local game store as best as you can.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Yes, definitely. Your friendly local game store does need all the support it can get. So I definitely encourage you to go in, get some free stuff, and while you're there, spend some money. Buy some stuff. Buy some paint for some minis. Buy some dice. Maybe buy a new RPG source book or something like that. Just support your local game store, because they definitely need it.
Then let's go and see what's on the tabletop. And this looks like it's going to be a CMON day, because first off, CMON announced the Masters of the Universe, the board game.
Also known as Shut Up and Take My Money. Just right now, where shut up, just here's my credit card information. I want this now.
Okay, I take it you like the concept.
Oh yeah, this is an instant back on Kickstarter. Like the day this comes out on Kickstarter, I am backing this, no questions asked. Yes, of course, this is Masters of the Universe we all know and love. I would hope so, at least if you're listening to this show. When Eternia is threatened by Skeletor and his vile minions, the noble Prince Adam holds aloft the sword of power and proclaims, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power," thus transforming himself into He-Man. This is going to be a mini game, because this is Come On we're talking about, so of course it's going to have lots of miniatures. Other than that, we really don't know anything about it. They just kind of teased it a little bit and said it was coming. Michael Chenal, which is Come On's design and development manager, said Masters was a part of most of our childhoods. People of a certain age know all too well about it. Simply saying, "I have the power," is automatically said in one's mind a certain way because of this. Now this game will bring in entirely new generations to Eternia and many of the characters. Parents will be able to pass down their love of He-Man to their children, and that is amazing. So look for the Masters of the Universe board game Kickstarter in 2021. which unfortunately means the game probably won't be out until 2022 or 2023, which makes me sad. But still, shut up and take my money.
And on top of that, they also announced Massive Darkness 2. Is that a take your money also, or is that's so?
Maybe. Massive Darkness is like a board game that I've never even cracked open. I have it. I didn't back it on Kickstarter, though. I got it at a charity auction. I won it at a charity auction, and I got it at a pretty decent price. But, of course, it was for charity, so it was fine. But I don't know. I've watched stuff about it. It looks cool. Then again, they didn't really say anything about this other than just a little teaser trailer. It just was like, Lightbringer, you thought you vanquished the darkness, but the battle has barely begun. It will take you to the deepest dimensions, through the most dangerous dungeons. Face your demons, bring the light to the darkness in 2020. So this Kickstarter is apparently starting soon. This was teased right after their comic book Kickstarter ended. They announced this. They did say more information was coming soon for it. And they have a video, which for some reason did not, I noticed, post in the article over on DDO Player, so I'll have to change this. But this might be a shut up and take my money. I'm not sure. Masters of the Universe for sure, though. I'm like, no doubt about it. Like, day one for that. Massive Darkness, I might wait for the retail. It becomes retail because the other one did. So
then let's over to our week in gaming. Patrick, what did you do this week?
Oh, a little of this, a little of that. I have a lot of excess gaming time at the moment. For those who know me, working in an industry that revolves around getting a bunch of people into a small confined space is not really a great business model.
Not
right
the
now.
most exactly, not the most best business model you can follow right now. So. Yeah,
Lots of people into a small space. What do you do? Run a theater?
Basically, I mean, I don't run it, but yeah, it's what I do. That and concerts and stuff. So
okay, yeah.
But a lot of DDO, some Myth and to a lesser extent Saba and Lessa and I have been playing some 7 Days to Die. One of these days, Drac and I will probably play DDO together.
Tomorrow night.
Okay.
I was going to tell you that. And I want to jump in on this 7 Days to Die server we have too, because it sounds amazing.
Sure. It's just like every other 7 Days to Die server, I think. But got a good... It's a new... a newer version, and I like a lot of the changes that they did with it. Like the mining is a lot. I have often in the past really struggled with mining because some of the people that we play with, like CAD, is just like a human mind divining rod in the old game, and I don't know how the heck he was able to find a mine like at will, and I could never do it. I could never find a mine, so I had to come up with other strategies to do that stuff. But the new version is a lot simpler in how to do that.
But yes, we will play DDO tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. Surprise!
Sounds great.
So next week, in my week in gaming, I'll have some DDO to talk about. I don't have any this week, but I have plenty of other stuff. This is actually, to be fair, since we didn't have a show last week, this is kind of 2 weeks in gaming. So it seems like a lot, but this was spread out over 2 weeks. First thing for me is, of course, in D&D 5e, I did do the Waterdeep Dwarves, Dungeons of the Mad Mage. That was the second episode, which this time around we were on DDO stream. That is normally over on Beaker's channel. But we had an extra weekend for D&D stream, so we played that. We actually got into the dungeon proper. So we ascended down to... the dungeon, so we'll see what happens with that. We're already facing our first combat. It didn't take us long to go around a corner and we found a combat, so we'll see how that goes. So that'll be the next episode, which we're trying to scheduling that out, but I'll be sure I'll talk about that. And then did a lot of tabletop stuff the past couple weeks. Got the Munchkin Dungeon in from Kickstarter. That is a CMON game as well. Got that in, broke that out, had a couple friends come over, and we played that. That is super, super fun. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is Munchkin, and it's a dungeon crawl. And it's very, very Munchkin-y. You can screw over your friends, which we took many delights in doing several times. So that was exciting. Glad to see that Kickstarter actually come to fruition. I will probably be playing that more because I enjoyed it. There's different monsters you can shuffle in to make it different, but it's pretty fun. I'll talk about them. I might even do a review of it just for the hay of it. Not sure if I'll do that or not, but maybe look for that. Also, another Kickstarter that came in was the Evil Dead 2 Kickstarter, which we have talked about. You know, that's the one that Space Goat Productions kickstarted, got over $1 million for it, and then never made the game. And then Jasco Games got the rights, saved it, and if you backed it, you were helping the original backers of the original Kickstarter get copies of it, finally, that they paid for that they never got. So cool on Jasco Games. Really, really fun game. This is another one where you screw over your friends. Of course, that's a theme with games I play with my friends for some reason. I don't know. We just do that to each other. The thing with this is you all start out on the same team together, and then there's like a traitor mechanic. And if you're familiar with the Evil Dead, basically one person is a Deadite, but nobody knows who it is. You get these cards that will reveal if you're a human or a Deadite, and it's a secret. So you can play like you're a human all throughout the game until you have enough pieces of the Necronomicon, and then you can go over to the portal to where the humans are trying to seal the portal up, but the Deadite is trying to summon more demons and open the portal so other things can come through. And then you have to kind of deduct by how they're playing. It's like, okay, are they actually picking stuff up? Are they doing this because they're a human? They're helping us? Or they're not.
So is this a similar type of feel as either Shadows over Camelot or Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, kind of. It's, you know, you have 3 actions on your move. You can search, or you can fight. So it's pretty simple. It's just the whole mechanic of you never really know who is actually good and who's actually bad, because everybody seems to be working together until they're not, until one person really screws you over. And then you can tell, okay, they're a Deadite. We were playing with 3 people, so there was only one of us that was evil. In the 4-player game, there's 2 people, and then in the 5-player game, there's 3 people that are bad. So interesting. I want to play it with more people to see how different it plays, but definitely fun. The minis, they did a really good job on the miniatures on them. Want to get this to the table more as well. Finally played Marvel Champions, the card game. Played that with 2 of my friends, and then also played it solo several times. Got my butt kicked every time I played it solo. That is a really hard game to play. And I played with different heroes every time. I mixed it up. So I'll be playing that more. I really, really love the game. It is such a good game. It's kind of, if you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings card game, I've seen a lot of similarities between this and that.
I think they think of it as a streamlined Lord of the Rings.
Okay, I can definitely see that, because it's definitely in the same vein as that. And then my niece and her husband came over, and we played Ticket to Ride. You might say, why the heck did you play Ticket to Ride? Because as we were eating dinner that night, they were talking about board games, because we like to play games together, and they were looking at all my board games, and they'd seen I had Ticket to Ride, and they said, "Man, we haven't played that forever. Because there for a while, every time I'd go over to their house, we would always play Ticket to Ride." And I said, "Yeah, but did you know now you can play Ticket to Ride with She Who Shall Not Be Named?" And they're like, "No, you can't." Of course, I said her name then, but I'm not going to say her name now. We all know on this show, if you listen to the show, who I'm talking about. So we actually played with her. We played a 4-player game with the Amazon device. I'll put it that way. It works really, really well, actually. It's really well done. So if you have an Amazon Echo device and you have Ticket to Ride, just tell her that you want to play Ticket to Ride. And it's actually amazing at how well it works. I know we've talked about it in the past on the show that you can do it, and I said I was going to do it, but I just never got around to actually playing it until just I kind of mentioned it then, and they're like, "Cool, let's do that." So we're like, "Okay." So then I played a game that's going to be for review. It's called Dungeon Brawl. It is a dungeon crawler mixed with an 8-bit beat 'em up game. That's the best way to describe it. It's pretty fun, actually. You form a team and then you go into a dungeon and then you're just fighting in the dungeon. So we will have more on that. Like I said, that's going to be for review. And then I finally broke out Lord of the Rings Journeys into Middle-earth. Started playing that. I'm a little bit, tiny bit into the first scenario of that. Really, really enjoying that. Really well done. It's just kind of weird that you don't have any dice. It's all card based. I'm kind of trying to get used to that because I'm used to all the other Fantasy Flight games, which you have dice that you do everything with. This is just all card based. So I will talk more about that. I'm sure I'll play that more. So far, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Like I said, I played for about 20 minutes maybe. So I don't know. I'm not very far into the first scenario, but super fun on that, though. Then the final tabletop game I did was Alone Against Fear. Pineleaf talked about this last show. It's based on the For Against Darkness. So if you're familiar with that RPG, it's based on that. It's a solo RPG. I had fun with it. I'm going to play it again. There's just something about it that I can't quite... that I don't like about it, but I can't...
You can't put your finger on it yet.
No, I can't put my finger on it exactly what it is. There's just one little small thing that I'm like, that could have been done better. But so hopefully I'll figure that out. But yeah. I had fun with it, though.
Yeah, but when you consider systems like this, they do have a habit of adding supplements that I think one of the things that might happen is probably from feedback on these little things. So if someone else noticed it and recognizes it and remembers it and reported it, then they might have an update to it at some point or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there will, because that's kind of how For Against Darkness went. I didn't play that until after it was out for a while, and there's tons of stuff out for that. So, but like I said, I'll play it again, and maybe I can figure out that one. There's just one little thing that I'm just like, there's just something about it. So I'll see if I can figure that out. But that was Alone Against Fear. And then played a little bit of video games, played Minecraft Dungeons. Actually played that with Pineleaf. He'll kind of talk about that a little bit. And then I played it solo. Kind of interesting with Minecraft Dungeons. I played it on the PC, and then I also played it on the Xbox One. Played it solo on the Xbox One. So it was kind of interesting to see how different the two games were, because there is some slight differences. It's just because, one's console, one's PC, but they were pretty similar, but super fun game. I know nothing about Minecraft, so it was kind of funny when we were playing. Minecraft was explained to me, or Pineleaf was explained to me okay, this comes from Minecraft and this is this and that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because, like I said, I had never played Minecraft a day in my life, but this was super fun. Just a little fun hack and slash dungeon crawl. Then I played a little bit of Blood Rage Digital. This is going to be a review. They sent me a review code for this. Yeah, we'll just save it.
That didn't sound very excited.
Spoiler alert, it needs a lot of work.
Oh well.
We'll see. Yeah, it's. I know they've been patching it a lot. I haven't paid. There's been like 2 patches out since I played, so hopefully some of the quirkiness, we'll put it that way, is fixed. But we'll see. I'll have to play it again. But look for a review of that coming soon. Then I played Gloomhaven. I know Pineleaf talked about this last week as well, and I'm still wanting to get Gloom Table to the table, and I'm just like very much. I get like afraid isn't the word I would use for it, but I'm just like, it's so daunting how big that box is.
Yes,
So
it is.
I thought I would ease my way into the water, dip a toe into the Gloomhaven water by playing the video game. I did the tutorial and I did the first dungeon, which I almost died in. Holy crap, is it hard?
Yeah, it is. That was a trick. It's a tricky one, and and it seems to be balanced so that you just barely get through there.
Oh yeah, at least that's that for me, because well, the number one, I really don't know what I'm doing quite yet. I mean, I kind of understand it, but there's still a few things I'm not sure about. But yeah, it's hard as heck. So that's Gloomhaven, the digital version. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll play that more. And then I was looking on my hard drive because I was like trying to figure out. I'm like, what is taking up all my space on my SSD? Because I got a message I was running out of space, so I uninstalled a couple games that I haven't played forever. And in the process of doing that, I noticed 2 games that one game I haven't played at all that I even forgot that I even bought. And then one game that I just haven't played in like forever. And I thought, dang it, I'm going to play that. The game I forgot I bought was Tom Clancy's The Division 2. I vaguely remember buying this when it was like super cheap on the Ubisoft store. They had like a sale. I think it was at New Year's maybe. And it was like stupid cheap. I mean, it was like stupid cheap for like the gold edition of it.
I got it for like
so I bought
$5.
it. Yeah, I think I paid like $5 or $10 maybe or whatever. So yeah. So I actually installed that because I noticed I had the executable to install, and I'm like, okay, let me clean up some. I kind of defeated the purpose of clearing my hard drive room and then installed another game, but that's how it goes. So I played a little bit of that. It is way harder than the first division, at least to me it was, but I liked it a lot. I liked it better than the first one. I think I like the story a little better. So I'll play that some more. And then the game that I have not played forever and decided to play was Guild Wars 2. As I said, I was looking to see some games I could uninstall to clear up some space on my SSD. I seen that and I'm like, okay, I'm going to patch this. I'm going to play it. And I got kind of hooked again on Guild Wars 2. I played it for a couple hours one night. Jump back in. I started to do the Heart of Thorns expansion, which I never did anything with. So I am running through that. Super fun. Guild Wars 2 is just fun. It's just the only thing that's a little weird about it is the combat. The combat's a little quirky, but once I kind of remembered the quirkiness of the combat and then actually remembered how to play my ranger, it was all good. And then I jumped on my Necro and I was totally confused. And I'm like, yeah, I don't remember anything about this Necro. So I'll have to see if I can remember how to do the Necro again. But yeah, so played Guild Wars 2. So that was it. So the past couple of weeks, I actually got a lot of gaming in for once, which is kind of odd for me. But
yeah, recent
yeah,
weeks
exactly.
have been a little light.
They has. So I actually did some stuff. So what about you, finally?
All right, I'll begin with on DDO, where my Warforged favored soul went through the Grotto and Keep of the Borderlands. And things started out rough, mainly because I was trying to figure out how best to handle the situation that I have all these wonderful cure spells that aren't really all that good when you're casting on a Warforged, since they're all divided by half.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you would need some repair, not cure, but okay.
Yeah, so I decided to head into the marketplace, seeing how Keep of the Borderlands now can get you pretty close to there. And I went in there and got some repair potions because I remember Drac telling me how much he loves chugging potions. So I got those, went into there. I think I bought something like 25 of them, and I used half of them during the course of the adventure. And during the first couple of dungeons, I was really getting roughed up in there. I was saying, all right, let's see how far I can get as usual without getting a hireling cleric. So, of course, a hireling cleric is probably not going to do me too much good either, but it might supplement my spells or something like this. And I was surprised that I did eventually get to the entire Keep of the Borderlands without having to resort to actually call up a hireling. So I went through I managed to get through the whole thing. I managed to better learn how to balance out when to use potions and when to use my spells and how much spell energy to use and all of that. And I managed to balance out well enough in order to complete the whole thing. Now, I do have to admit, though, that at least for the final dungeon, I did decide to go through let's say, a relatively fast run, meaning going straight through it rather than going through that, because there's this entire optional area that you do in the final dungeon that I normally do. But I decided this
Right.
I just skipped that area and I just went on to it. Now, of course, if you don't do that area, you wind up with a certain area that you have to get around through a secret passage and all that stuff, which is a real pain to do because then you have to do the puzzle, either do the puzzle or use the secret passage in there. And I think if you do the optional area, that area is cleared out so you don't have to worry about the puzzle in there. Oh, that's right. I think I had a celestial dog with me because I had a summon monster spell. And of course, the celestial dog keeps on fouling up the puzzle, running onto and unlike
That's always
hirelings, you
annoying.
can't tell them to stay.
Yeah, that's always annoying.
That was annoying. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do about this because I could not see the secret door. I think it's the first character I had that was unable to detect the secret door. That's how bad my character was in that department. Fortunately, though, the mobs apparently got impatient, opened up the secret door, and attacked me.
Oh, well, that's handy.
Right. So that meant that I was able to eventually get through the secret door because they opened it for me. How nice of them. So I finished that. So that marks off the Favored Soul and the Warforged. And whatever possessed me to do a Warforged Favored Soul, I have no idea. That was a really strange. A couple of my pairings that I have for this series are a little on the strange side, I must admit. Then in ESO, Drac and I attempted to go into the new area because this is the area that Drac has been waiting for, but it was only a couple of days after release. And first off, we had the problem where it was telling us, all right, this is where you have to go in order to do this. And we're really confused because it seemed to be trying to send us to Daggerfall. I mean, Daggerfall, it's for a completely different faction that's in a completely different area. And it took me a long time to convince me that, yes, we had to go to Dagger. Eventually, just when we finally got to Daggerfall and started to turn the quest, I remembered, that's right, Drac and I were both playing Bretons.
Then the light bulb went on. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
duh.
Daggerfall. So it is based, of course, on the race that you're playing, or at least maybe the pact that you're with. So we went in there, but when we finally got into the new zone, it was beyond laggy.
Oh my god, it was a slideshow. It was horrible.
Yeah. Which meant, yes, everyone and their brother must have been running the new content at that time. So we're hoping to try it again after what we hope things will calm down and people would have progressed to parts of it that are later on in the storyline, shall we say. Then, because of that, Drac and I Then follow that off with that Minecraft Dungeons session that Drek talked about. So we played a little bit of that, and I got Drek interested in that game. It's a game that I believe I've already described. I can't remember if I described that on the show or not, but I described it as what you get if Minecraft had a child with Diablo.
Yep, and that's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. And on top of that, I also played solo, where I took a character all the way from the beginning, and I did manage to complete the game on the basic level. And what I mean by the basic level is I reached the boss, I killed the boss. Now, when you do that, you unlock adventure level, which is a higher, such as in Diablo, when you complete the basic kill the boss of the basic tier, you unlock then another level of it where your character can progress further along and get more powerful, because now the dungeons are a lot tougher on this. So I also unlocked that in there, and we'll see how that goes. And in Minecraft itself, I started in the June MHC, which is a skyblock challenge. Now, since the MHC is done using vanilla Minecraft rules, obviously it could not have been a literal skyblock, which is a mod. So what they did is they set up the map settings for generating the world in such a way that it was something that was similar to a skyblock. And in case you don't know what a skyblock is, this is where you start out on this tiny little island and you're trying to survive on that island. Now, in a real skyblock, you're not supposed to leave that island, but this challenge, actually, the rule for it, the challenge that you're supposed to do, was to be able to get to another nearby island and survive there. And when I say island, we're not talking about islands that are separated by water. We're talking about islands that are separated by the void, meaning if you fall off the edge while trying to get from one to the other, you're over. And of course, hardcore challenge means, well, hardcore server. Similar to a hardcore server. You die, you're done. Then I also went into Mage Rage, where I ran Mage Rage week number 5 for May, which is very unusual because normally we only have 4 challenges per month. But they decided to have a bonus one. And what the creator did was decided to give us a little bit of a scavenger hunt inside of his testing world for the game. So just thought give us a little peek at his test world and what type of damage he's done over it in trying to test out the various features of Mage Rage. And I also ran the first week of June Mage Rage, and in this one, the theme for this month is that we have to collect a certain number of each item, because normally in Mage Rage, it doesn't matter how many, you just had to have at least one of the item in your inventory in order to get credit for it. But now for this one, you had the exact number that's being called out for of each of the items in there. And that actually went pretty well. I think he had relatively easy items for it, since it's the first time we've had to get specific numbers. So that might have helped in that. And I managed to get that in a decent time. And then in tabletop stuff, first off, I had Castle Ravenloft. I played the Rampaging Golem scenario, which leaves me only 2 more scenarios that I need to get done before I finish that off. And you've done Rampaging's Golem yet, Drac?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah. So you know that there are 2 ways to do this, the Drac way and the Pine Leaf way, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say, and let me guess which way you did yours.
Of course, the Pine Leaf way.
Probably not the same way I did mine.
Yes. And it was quite an interesting finish in there, especially since whenever I spent experience in order to check out the artifacts so that I could uncover one to find out whether it would cause rage or calm down, 2 of the 3 that I peaked that way actually were the ones for the rage. So that means I was able to eliminate 2 of the rage items, so I didn't have to worry about trying to show them to the golem. So that helped things quite a bit on that. Then I played Wingspan. This is my first run of Wingspan using the middle setting because my earlier playthroughs on that were all from the easier setting of the Automa. So this time we played it on the middle one, and the Automa scored, I think, the highest the Automa scored against me because, well, it was on a medium setting instead of the easy one. But it looks like I also upped my game. Either that or I'm starting to concentrate better when I'm playing the game when I'm at the gaming table instead of at my old setting. So that went well. After that, then I played Welcome to, my first playthrough of Welcome to, and I think I didn't do very well. I think I could have done a lot better on that because that was just, yeah, obviously first time playing the game, so I didn't do too well there. Then Carcassonne, I finally found my Carcassonne, my base game Carcassonne. So I tried out the solo version, the recently released solo version of the game for the first time on the base game. It could use some improvement on there. I guess that's suffice to say on that matter. That didn't go too well. Then some Aeon's End, where I played an expedition against the Umbra Titan, Arcanos, and Maiden of Thorns. And that particular one, beginning of the expedition went reasonably well, but the Maiden of Thorns, I could not solve the Maiden of Thorns, so that sort of killed me at the end, ending my little run there. And in the Aeon's End solo marathon, I decided to make one last against Death Mine, and this was a real slogfest where trying to get in there, and I was really, really close. I had Death Mine just about at the end, ready to go down. And of course, the 3 cards that probably would have been worse to come up are the ones that came up. So, boom, that ended that. After that, I decided, let's try some commands and colors. In this case, I found a solo system for playing commands and colors because I have all these commands and colors games, and I was wondering, well, what am I going to do with them? It's trying to find a good way of playing them solo. So I found this system, the CDG thing, in there, and I tried it out with Battle Lore, which is probably a game that the person who designed the CDG system doesn't play because they didn't mention in the list of commands and colors games in there that I think they tended to more focus on the historical ones. But I played Battle Lore 2nd edition, and ran the learning scenario. And I started out with the learning scenarios because it's been years since I played Battle Lore. And then I played a random scenario on there, and I think it went pretty well on there, and decided that yes, the system does seem to be very well, and it seems to make a good solo game in there. So with that done, then on Saturday, which was of course June 6th, the anniversary of D-Day, I decided to run 2 Memorial 44 scenarios to commemorate D-Day. So I ran Pegasus Bridge and San Merangles, and yes, I have absolutely no idea the proper way of pronouncing that, unfortunately. So if one of you two can pronounce French properly, maybe you can tell me the name of the second scenario.
Yeah, right.
Patrick?
Sounded good to me.
Okay. Patrick said, huh? What's French?
I mean, I tried to pronounce a French name in the Chronicle with German, so.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I got the idea there. And so that was quite a bit on there. Then in tabletop apps, I ran through a dungeon in the Gloomhaven tabletop game. So I ran through the first dungeon there, and that's how I could understand with Drac when he was talking about how that first dungeon can be really tough. Actually, I think you have a choice of directions you can go, so there may be. So I don't know if we had the same first dungeon, because the first dungeon is, I think there are 3 directions. I think one of them you really shouldn't be going because you have to get stuff from the other two directions, I think, in order to get ready for the third, if I understand it properly.
Maybe that's where I screwed up.
But no, it was tough because I think that if I had gone 2 turns later, I would have lost.
Oh yeah, that's how I was too.
Yeah.
I mean, if it would have ended when it ended, yeah, I just would have been done.
Yeah, I
so.
mean, you run out of cards pretty quickly
Oh
if
yeah.
you're not careful there. Then on Sagrada, I tested the solo game. Oh, yeah, on the app version of Sagrada, they just added the original solo game in there. So instead of playing up against AIs, you could use the solo mode that comes with Sagrada. So I decided to see how that works on the app, and that seemed to work reasonably well. And then today, I finally got around to purchasing the Friday app on the phone because my old phone that I had couldn't support the Friday app. So I decided to get it on my phone in there. So now I tried out Friday on there, and despite the fact that I decided let's start this out on easy mode because I was still learning the interface of the app a little bit, I got my teeth kicked. So that didn't go too well. So I had to get back into it because I know on Friday I can maybe win half the time at level 3. So I would have thought, oh, no problem, level 1. Not if you're not used to the interface then. So I have to get practicing back into Friday. But I'm hoping to have some more time to be able to play it, or at least more opportunities to play it now that's on my phone. And because sometimes I'm worried about wearing out my cards, if you understand that. We currently have 14 supporters on Patreon, and if you would like to help support DDO players, you could go to our donations page on the Players Alliance. And this money is used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. And if you prefer, though, to just send us a donation, you could contact Drac at ddoplayers.com. We did not receive any emails this week. If you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast at ddoplayers.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, DDO Players at DDO Players, Dracula at Dracula_72, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. And you could also follow Drac on Twitch at Dracula_72. You could also follow Patrick on at DDO Cast, www.ddocast.com, and www.twitch.tv/DDOcast. The Players Alliance has 3 shows. We have been attempting to go on Mondays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time for DDO Players News. We may have a change in that schedule in the near future since we have trouble beating that schedule. On Saturday today, 30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Local Players News. And as for XP Quest, just follow at XP Quest on Twitter to find out when the show goes live. But I should note that this show is not Pineleaf friendly. You can join us for our shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And Patrick, you have any closing words before I go?
May all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, don't forget to gather for bus.
He's got the best tagline in the world.
Yes. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to quest responsibly.